So our next presentation is going to be is by Florence Mbugua. Mbugua. Again, you will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry. And it's from, she is the head of supply chain with BASF, and you can also translate what BASF stands for to all of us. Thank you, and the mic is now yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Please come closer to the mic.
Okay, is this better?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Such an interesting morning we've had, and I hope you still have some energy and concentration for what I'm about to present. I have 30 minutes. I intend to take the entire 30 minutes. Yes, my name is Florence Mbugua. I work for BASF. It's a chemicals company. We create chemistry. We are making chemicals for most of the industries. I will not deliberate too much because my colleagues will present this morning, I think after this, and give you more insights onto what do we manufacture, especially for the pharmaceutical division. And so for me, I'm a supply chain expert. I am not a medic or a pharmacist. I've been in this field for over 15 years. And today I want to just give you a glimpse of a journey towards patient-centric supply chains. How do we come up with a supply chain that ensures the medicine is at the right place where it's required by the patient at the right time? Quite a challenge, yeah? And just a few statistics. Currently, we are talking of 124 million COVID cases globally. We also know that there has been 2.73 million deaths. Yeah, for Kenya, the numbers are different. We know that we have 2,078,000 deaths so far, but as per yesterday, yeah, the rate of infection among those tested is at 22%. So this is a real serious situation we are facing. The third wave is here. We also know that there have been 458 million doses of vaccination that has been produced. Yeah, but out of those, only 140 million have been administered because some require more than one dose. Yeah, Kenya procured 1 million doses, which arrived here this month. And we are in the process of vaccinating with the AstraZeneca. Now, if you put it into perspective, we need to speed up the vaccination, and we need to ensure that this vaccine arrives to the patient in the right condition, temperature guidance, at the right price, and very, very quick. So I will just share a glimpse of what I would personally do if I was planning for this supply chain that is to ensure the vaccines in this sub-Saharan market in Kenya, where we know we are constrained by the infrastructure availability and everything else around it, yeah? So that's what I'm going to basically target. Now, if I move to the next screen, which is not going. Okay, here we go. There we go. I will not talk too much about BASF. I will just give you a highlight of the numbers. Last year, our sales were upwards of 59 billion. The EBIT before special items last year was 3.6 billion. And we have 110,000 employees, 241 production sites. Around 90,000 customers globally are benefiting from our products. Yeah, that's a snapshot of BASF. In East Africa, we are based here in Kenya is our headquarters. In Westlands, we have our office, and we are serving the markets that have been shown on that map. I will not deliberate more about it. Let's go to optimizing of the vaccine supply chain. So the vaccine came. Margaret Keenan, a 91-year-old grandmother in the UK, was the first person globally to be vaccinated on 8th of December 2020. Thereafter, as I have said, only 140 million people have been fully vaccinated. This represents 1.2% of the global population. So we have a long way to go. And healthcare systems now are on the spot, as the CS said, because the task is now here. How do you secure? How do you distribute? How do you administer this vaccine to your citizens? Yeah, and just acquiring the vaccine is also not an easy task. Yeah, you must then ensure you're transporting it, it's in the right temperature, integrity is maintained, you're tracking it, yeah, and you ensure that it gets to the patient. Now, I will touch on five ways that we can optimize this vaccine supply chain and help the communities to recover and get back to normalcy. I personally has been working from the house for the past 1 year and now 3 months. And my life is basically not the same, just like with everybody else. And we are all social animals. We are social people. We want to get back to what we do. We want to go to church. We want to take our children to the play park. You know, we want to go visit our mothers in the village. But this has not happened. So we want to get back to normalcy. And for this, we require that the distribution of the vaccine is at speed. Yeah. So what is the first thing? Of course, the first thing you do is plan. And you're planning with an aim to make sure that your vaccine are obviously sent off to the person that is required very fast. Yeah. And there are many factors you have to look at. You have to look at what is your demand. In this case, what's your population? Yeah, the AstraZeneca vaccine is being given to anybody over 18-year-old, but it's not at once. As you heard, we only have 1 million in Kenya. Yes, we have procured 22 million doses, and that doesn't even cover the whole population. But what are your priority populations? Is it the old? Is it the ones with the health workers, policemen, teachers? What's the priority? And that is part of the planning. So you want to segment those, and you want to also evaluate how much can you afford? What are the regulatory bodies saying? Because also these vaccines are costing between $3 and $6 a dose. So you have to consider, where are you going to get it from which source? Yeah. And once you know the source, you have to negotiate, because obviously we are looking at everybody getting vaccinated in that age bracket, but we want to make sure that we have enough doses, yeah, within the shortest time. So price negotiation is very important. What is our capacity? So even if you procure everything, you probably do not have enough capacity. This AstraZeneca vaccine, the shelf life is 6 months, less than 6 months, that's what they are saying. And it's administered in 2 doses. In Kenya, it's 8 weeks apart. So you get the first dose today, in 8 weeks, you're called again to get the second dose. So what we plan for that, we plan to ensure the first 1 million that are vaccinated, in 8 weeks, there'll be enough for them to get the second dose, yeah? We also are continuing to vaccinate. It's not like we're stopping there. What is our capacity? I know capacity in Nairobi is huge. What is the capacity in my village, in Kinago? Yeah, well, how is my mom going to be vaccinated? And how long does she have to travel to that vaccination center? Yeah, and where is our vaccine going to be kept? And is it going to be still good to use at the point where my mom walks into the vaccine center? Or is it going to have been exposed to temperatures that are not advocated? For AstraZeneca, is -2 to +8. That must be maintained. Okay, so then the transport is another element. The cold chain must be maintained from when you get it from the sourcing plant to when you get to my mother in the village. So aeroplanes, Kenya Airways, what are the cold storage, the central big storage facilities within the urban centers? What are the vehicles we are using from those urban centers to take it to the village? And in the village, how do you take it to my mother? Maybe she can't even walk. You might need a rider or a bike, but it must have a cooler. How do you ensure that the -2 to +8 is maintained on that bike? So these are the questions that you have to ask yourself and have it graphed out by geography. So Kinangop is close, 1.5 hours I'm there. What about Turukana? What about all those other places, yeah? How do you get the pastoralists to stop and be somewhere where they are required to be vaccinated. These are the issues that you have to tackle. Yeah, then you have to obviously monitor. You have to know after the medicine of the vaccine reached to Kinangop, how much of it was used today. Once you open a vial of AstraZeneca, you have to maintain it at 30 degrees if it is to be used, and it's only for 6 hours. So you want to know what inventory has actually been administered and what inventory is remaining, and what do you do before you waste, yeah? These things are costing between $3 and $6 per dose. So you don't want to waste. So you want to have planned such that what you take to the village, to Kinangop, is just enough to be covered by the infrastructure that you have, cold chain infrastructure, and have mobilized the people to come in so that there's little wastage. You also now have to plan replenishment. As I said, 8 weeks later, my mother will be called again, come back for your second dose. If you don't have that dose, the efficacy rate starts going down. So you must have planned that that is available for those patients who are inoculated to come back for the second dose. Yeah, also, of course, there's also the legal framework around the government and the pharma requirements, which must be, it's a whole planning that ensures that these vaccines really, we have speedy execution at minimal waste, yeah? Now, say you have planned and you have everything in check. Now let's start getting the vaccines in. So temperature control is obviously, as you all know, critical, yeah, to ensuring that the vaccine is actually working at the point where it's being administered. So we are saying the Kenya Airways, take it from wherever it's coming from to our airports. Then normally you want to have a large cold room identified, big trucks, because these are huge volumes for the entire country. It's then transported, maintained, controlled temperature. You're monitoring, tracking, tracing up to the point where it is put in the big cold storage rooms, let's say in Nairobi. Then you distribute to all the distribution centers that you have. These are the small hospitals with adequate infrastructure to hold the vaccines at the 2 to 8 degrees, yeah? And then that is carried further into the littlest transport, small vans to the villages. And even from that village shopping center where the small hospital with the fridges to where the old folks are, or I don't know, where the people actually are. And when you come now to places where the infrastructure is limited, you have to ensure you have brought in new resources. You can get a reefer container, which are temperature controlled, on a generator to make sure that in those remote locations where you will never find electricity or a fridge, it is working and that it is being delivered in quantities that are enough to avoid a lot of waste. So that's important. The other thing you have to look at is how are you tracking and tracing? This is critical. And I like that I've had, there are hotlines set up, batch to batch, track and trace. There's a pilot being conducted because that's hugely important when you're talking about vaccines. So right now, if you go in and you get vaccinated, they send you a message that says that you've been vaccinated, this is a batch number, and you're supposed to come back on this and this date. And that's good enough for Kenya, that is, because at least even if something happens with a specific batch, we are able to recall the colleagues or the people who are inoculated with that quickly and be able to put in preventive actions. So complete end to end, being able to see the 1 million doses right now, where are they? How many people have been inoculated? What is remaining? Where is it? And where is it supposed to go after that? Has there been any damage? Has there been any theft? Real-time monitoring of the volumes is critical because that's the only way you can start saying, okay, in Kinangop, tell the health workers right now that on Tuesday, they should all come because we'll have inventories on the ground, yeah? What has been used at the end of the day when they come on Tuesday? So as you can be able to tell the others on Wednesday, come in, we still have this, or Nairobi, send us more vaccines. That is very critical, yeah? And you can have, there are many ways of tracking because we have even new technologies that have come up to enable you have real-time central databases that are tracking the movements and the inventories. So given the short shelf life of these vaccines, you need to identify each batch by its manufacturer and expiry date. Remember that for this AstraZeneca, 6 months is the maximum, yeah? They must remain in their original boxes in the fridge because of protecting it from the light, yeah? And from the time you open it, that is the first needle goes in, to administration, it must be kept at 30 degrees for a single period of up to 6 hours. So these are the guidelines that we must make sure even the people administering have been trained on and actually know. Yeah, then the next thing is product integrity. Already we've seen reports, yeah? We've seen reports of fake COVID vaccines being busted globally, yeah? So it's a lucrative business. Obviously, the conmen are very much at the back end trying to come up, copy the whole bottle and sell fake. Yeah, so, and this is so unfortunate because the person, the patient receiving it fully believes they are being covered on the journey to being covered. However, they've received something that is not even, I mean, look at, it's happening globally. There are reports online. So because of this, we have to serialize all the batches. They must be serialized, and we must put that in a database that identifies which batch is a real batch, yeah? And pick up the fake batches. Every administration, every messaging that is going to the patient who has received the injection should first have a check on the batch and match it to a correct real batch before it's administered. Then you get that message that says, okay, go ahead and get administered, it's the correct batch. I mean, you have to have the proof of picking the vaccines from the central depository, confirmation that it has been delivered and it has been administered. The inventories are then adjusted accordingly. First in, first out, small principles that says the one that was manufactured first must be administered. The planning on how to procure, secure. If your supply chain cannot take the 6 months, you must make sure that you do not order huge quantities that come and get wasted or are administered when they are already dead vaccines, if there's anything like that. So waste must also be handled in a very proper way. So if something is wasted within the hospitals, it must be disposed in a very predictable and guideline policed way that ensures that it is not going to be given to somebody else, yeah, or returned into stock. So, and obviously training is very important for all the people who are administering them to be able to identify what are the counterfeits, what are the counterfeits. They say that if a spillage occurs on AstraZeneca, then you have to wipe it with the appropriate disinfectant, like the same ones that we are using. I mean, that is just part of the guideline. I'm sure there are many more guidelines. You are the experts which come into how do you use, administer, and manage the waste that is coming out of the supply chain. So that is also very important. But the biggest challenge for us is obviously the last mile. This is very critical because the bulk of the population is in the rural areas and we still need to get to them. Yeah, we still need to get to them with this vaccination. So it's very important that I know the HIV program developed very effective last mile distribution routes within Kenya, but we can also create what is required for this vaccine. But at the end of the day, once you know what is the percentage of the population, 18 and over, that needs to be inoculated, who are the priority groups at each stage? Yeah, and you have that number. What is the density of population? Meaning, do you find them in the same place or are you going far and wide to look for them? Garissa has the least density population in Kenya, and for that, it will be harder to track down the population there or even to distribute the vaccine. It must be taken into consideration. Yeah, availability of the trained frontline workers. Yeah, so it's not being administering itself. You're not buying off at the counter. There has to be somebody injecting you and making sure that, yeah, it's administered in the correct way. So that is critical, especially when you move further away to the rural areas. The distance that my mom has to travel to access that trade health facility for the inoculation. Some people will not be able to make it. It's too far. You might have to go nearer to them. So you have a last mile and then you have a real last mile to the doorstep or to the doorstep of the person who needs the medicine. And this is what patient-centric supply chains are. So there are those that obviously you might require my mom to travel because there is time to get her to travel or organize her travel. There are those ones you might have to get to her because we're in an emergency situation. People are dying by the day, and we need to make sure that they're inoculated. So we go beyond and over the call of duty for other vaccines and make sure that this one is getting to the patient when they need it, where they need it. And this is the basics I can tell you of how you can possibly plan a supply chain that works for the patient, that ensures that the vaccines reach my mom in the village where she is at once her priority group comes up. And I think that's it. If there are any questions, I'm very happy to answer them.
Thank you, Florence. You have a very lucky mom that you're looking out for her so much. She's very privileged. Do we have any questions for Florence? Okay, we can put them on the Q&A chat, and if need be, we can ask her to stay on for a little bit so that maybe after the next presenter, she's able to answer those questions if they come.
My question was only industrial question. I want to know if BASF, you have the factory in Africa are where?
So most of our factories in Africa are based in Morocco, Tunisia, and South Africa, but the majority of it is in Germany.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have another presentation from BASF?
Yes, we do.
Great. Joining us live from South Africa, the Springboks. Here we go.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Should I share my screen? Should I start, Dr. Anis?
Yes, you can, please.
Okay, no problem. I will then share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That name is challenging. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yes, we can, but you can tell us your name so that we at least know how to pronounce it.
No, not a problem. I will do so. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sitembiso Dlalisa. I'm the sales account manager for BASF in Sub-Sahara. So that is East Africa, West Africa, and Southern Africa. I'm currently based in Johannesburg, South Africa, looking after the entire 3 regions. Today, thank you very much to Florence, for presenting on the supply chain side. She has already done a brief introduction of BASF. I will go, I would say, more in details on what BASF is all about, and more specifically, how can the participants of the conference and also various stakeholders can benefit on BASF solutions within the pharmaceutical manufacturing space. I think it has been requested twice already. It was first from the CEO of PSK. What does BASF stand for? And I think Dr. Anis as well, you wanted to know. So I said, I will do my best, because I was reminded as well to explain this to all of you, because normally we take for granted that it's actually 4 letters that have a very deep history, or I would say historical events in the chemical sector. So BASF stands for Badische Anilin und Soda Fabrik. So basically Baden Anilin and Soda Factory. This is based on the initial products that BASF did when it started in 1865, which were mainly the aniline and also the soda within the factory, which was focusing mainly on dyes. Dyes were the main products of BASF. Most of you know BASF as a household name when you remember the cassette tapes. And actually what BASF was doing was supplying or making what we call carbonyl ion, which is a fine powder that is put on that magnetic tape, the cassette tape. Hence, you saw quite a lot in our household, the BASF cassettes. BASF has evolved since then. On my next slide, you can see now BASF has about 6 segments: chemicals, materials, industrial solutions, surface technologies, nutrition and care, agricultural solution. Basically, BASF is everywhere, in everything you touch, in everything you consume, the car you drive, the fuel you put in the car, the seat, the couches you're sitting on, the plastics, the computers, they have in one way or another have BASF chemistry or materials, making sure that the user experience is great and enjoyable. When we are talking about pharmaceutical industry, particularly in this case, we're looking at the segment called nutrition and care. And under nutrition and care, we look at an operating division called nutrition and health. As you can see there in nutrition and health, you have various global business units, 4 to be precise. And what we are looking at is that business unit called the Pharma Solutions. What do we do in the Pharma Solutions? Yeah. So we say we are a leading pharmaceutical ingredient supplier. We specialize in functional excipients and selected APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients. The idea of providing these 2 specific solutions is to deliver a value-adding services or solutions to our customers, which are pharmaceutical manufacturers. We stand for the highest safety and regulatory and sustainable standards. This is very true with our product range. And we also solve unmet needs, particularly in the formulation space, by providing intelligent solutions that are applicable for today's challenges, probably for tomorrow as well, particularly in drug formulation. This is where our strength lies when we come to pharmaceutical manufacturing, where we are really strong in providing formulation support and processing needs. So that's why you see that within our portfolio assets, selected APIs or selected actives, because where we are really adding value to manufacturers is around formulation using our functional excipients. APIs, obviously, we also do have very important APIs, and the most notable one and common ones for the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry are ibuprofen and omega-3 fatty acids. So like I said, we offer amongst various what we call the platforms, amongst various functions or application areas. This is APIs going, excipient and APIs going to oral dosage forms, going into topical dosage forms. We also have a very specialized excipients or highly purified excipients for parenteral dosage forms. So for all your injection needs. A very upcoming field within Africa, in East Africa, I like the fact that it's being talked about right now, the biopharmaceuticals, which also includes vaccine production. We also have quite a lot of excipients for that application area. We currently investing a lot of time and efforts to develop more solutions for the biopharmaceutical manufacturing. We are using our internal expertise. As you know, what we know best as BASF is chemistry, and we believe that we can use chemistry for the sustainable future, and this includes biomanufacturing as well. We also have vast range of solubilizers. These are still applicable as well for biopharmaceuticals or vaccine production. And these, in most cases, they support our customized formulation concept that our customers might have. And like I said, we also offer the selected APIs. I will look at the application areas, or as we call it, the platforms. So we have, I would say, about these five platforms. The sixth one is actually the APIs, but where we are really strong, like I said, where we really are focusing on is on our excipients and the application support to our customers in terms of formulation challenges that they might have. So we look at, for example, at oral application, topical application, parenterals, biopharma, and solubilization. Those are our five platforms. And if you look at the orals, we're talking about powders, granules, tablets, coatings. Should you require any functional coatings on your oral applications, but those are the tablets, films, liquids, and suspension. We also are providing excipients for topical applications, that is on the creams and ointments, the gels and foams, the patches and films, suppositories, and nasal sprays. These are very, very popular, particularly when we're talking about regulatory compliance, because you find that some manufacturers would use excipients that are of industrial grade in these areas, whereas when you want to get the best functionality out of your API, you are better off using excipients that are compliant in terms of quality and all other compliance requirements that are compliant with, whether it's USP, BP, the specifications are just right so that you get the full out of your API. We also have parenterals solutions. This is for your injectables, infusions, and also obviously the ophthalmic. These three areas are very, very sensitive, we know, within the pharmaceutical manufacturing space, as the compliance needs to be very strict. And this is where you see the difference between using any other supplier and using BASF, because quality then plays a role in terms of the safety of the drugs that you are producing, but also in terms of the performance of the product. When we're talking about biopharma, this is for your cell culture, the purification processes, and also the formulation. This is common as well if we're talking about biomanufacturing of that uses, for example, fermentation technologies as the manufacturing process, and you want to get out the best out of your process, of the production process. So we're talking about the high yields of the fermentation process. And then we have the platform that cuts across all the other application areas, the solubilization. This is more about, I would say, in most cases, you hear manufacturers talking about bioavailability of the APIs. This is where how you formulate, whether you're talking solubilizers, solvents and co-solvents, surfactants and emulsifiers, and also crystallization inhibition becomes very important, and it cuts across all the other four platforms, whether it's orals, topicals, parenterals, or biopharma. Then you would need something that will make sure that your API is easily incorporated incorporated into a formulation, but also it stays stable in the formulation. So, but today, what I would like us to look at is just two application areas that are more common with the most of our attendees today, which is the tablets and coatings, and just give you a highlight of the products and solutions we have there. So when you're talking about the tablets or the oral solid dosage forms, we're talking about two areas. We're talking first of all the tablet core. So what composes the tablet core, and where BASF can play can play a role. First of all, you'll have your filler, or other people call it the bulking agents, but also matrix formers. So we have quite a lot of products that can be used as fillers, but some of those products are more ready to use excipients. So meaning that you can actually use the products such as Ludipress for your direct compression processes, which skips out the granulation, the wet granulation process. We also have binders, both wet binders and also dry binders. As you can see there, we have a list of our povidone-based wet binders and also copovidone-based dry binders. But we also have cross povidones, which are used as disintegrants, so our Colidone CL range. We also supply products that are good for lubrication during your formulation of the tablet core. We also have wetting agents such as the sodium lauryl sulfates, the poloxamers, which can also be used during the formulation of a tablet core. Now, when we're talking about the outside of the tablet, so on the coating part, this is very common as well with the manufacturers, where they're looking for a coating for immediate release. So this is where you find BASF Coats that are suitable for immediate release. So if you want to achieve immediate release profile, we have our Colicode IR Protect Smart Seal. The two smart seals can be used to achieve that functionality. But you also have, sometimes you are working with APIs that are very sensitive to water, so you need to protect them. So you need a moisture protection. So you ensure that before your API is released in the right place, it is protected throughout, whether it's during packaging or during the transportation, but also the storage as well. So again, our Colicode Protect will provide this. Smart Seal will also provide this, and these work well when you also have other, I would say, other agents such as talc or whatever that you might be putting there in your coating formulation. We also have taste masking solutions. This is more for if you are working with excipients or even APIs that are not so good in taste, and more also if you are looking for tablets that might be designed for children who are very sensitive to taste. Therefore, we have coating polymers that can help you slightly cover that taste. You might even put some other enhancers there to make it taste more pleasant. We have plasticizers, which are very important so that your coating material remains more flexible and doesn't become brittle and breaks. So if you go to a pharmacy and you buy tablets, and then you can start seeing cracks, probably the cracks on the tablets, probably the plasticizer hasn't worked very well. But also, this is also true if you are talking about blister packs. If you are pushing a tablet out of your blister pack and then it just cracks. So there's something wrong with the formulation. So more so on the plasticizers, but also on the core as well. You might be having a problem there. We have Glidians and other functional coatings. The most important one, the enteric coatings. We know some APIs need to be released at the small intestine, and therefore they need protection all throughout from the time you ingest it all the way to the small intestine without releasing the API. This is very common with APIs such as diclofenac, where it works very well in the small intestine, and this is where your enteric coatings are very important. We have three products in that range which work very well. And also we also have sustained release coatings for APIs that you want them to be released in a controlled manner. And this is where we offer our products that are either going to the coatings, but also to the core as well. You see there, Colicode SR30 could be a coating to do that, but also we have on the core itself with Colidon SR30 as well, which is a matrix or a pore former that ensures that the API is released throughout what I would call the life cycle of the tablet. So this is the BASF Pharma Solutions, and I think most speakers, probably the CEO of PPB, talked about the two agendas which are very, very important: access to affordable medicine and also the positive contribution towards manufacturing. And my colleague tomorrow will touch on this more on what solutions are we providing to the manufacturers to ensure that they are able to manufacture in a most cost-effective way. But also we are making processes much easier, that you do not need a highly qualified technical expert to be able to run a production process. We are simplifying these for our customers and potential customers, because BASF believes that you should have access to these expertise 24/7. So we'll touch on the digital solutions that we have for this, where our customers can formulate and sort of have an idea on how to run a production process using a digital platform without having BASF present to assist them. So you already seen on the flyers as well, talking about Zoom Lab. And I'm looking forward to it tomorrow, that you will get more insight on what BASF can do to help you as a manufacturer of pharmaceutical products. So these are the products at glance, or a snapshot of the products. This is what you definitely see if you are getting one of our product brochures sent to you. So by that, I would like to thank you very much for listening, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions should you have them.
Great, thank you, Mr. South Africa. I think Florence wants to answer some questions. Florence, would you like to take the two questions that have been posed?
Yes, I can do that. So the first question was the biggest challenge in supply chain with regards to the rollout of COVID-19 vaccine. And I think it's twofold. One is the planning element. As I described it, it's not easy. And of course, if you don't plan, then you plan to fail. So planning, if we plan well, the success comes. So planning for distribution of the vaccine into the country is what will inform how we will set up the infrastructure and the required personnel to actually distribute it once it's here. And also making sure that we are having minimum waste and also speed. So I think planning is the biggest challenge, because once the plan is out and clear and detailed and as correct as can be, the rest is execution. Now, when it comes to execution, the last mile. This is the biggest challenge locally, because our last mile is a proper last mile. No roads, no infrastructure, no electricity, no fridges, no phones, no medical personnel. It's to say the last mile as it is supposed to be defined. So planning how even the people in those locations eventually will get that vaccine, and making sure that the execution is actually seamless, that they actually get it, and when it gets to them, it still works. I say those are the two biggest challenges. Yeah. Which was the other question? I only see one question. Yeah, I only see one question. I don't see the other question.
It's, are chewable tablets considered to be immediate release?
I do not.
Okay.
Okay.
I see that. Technically, yes, they are, because this is where you are actually breaking down your tablet core and releasing the API. So they are considered to be immediate release. Like you saw on my presentation, one of the important factors, particularly for chewable tablets, is the taste first, but also the mouth, what we call the mouth feel. And BASF has these solutions available should you want to improve the taste, but also the mouth feel, where your tablet feels smooth. It doesn't feel gritty on your tongue. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So thank you, BASF, for your presentations and for your insight into supply chain and how the products can help also in formulation. Thank you very much.